Okay, yo. All right. So, uh, I don't know. I don't even really know how to get into this, but I want to speak about uh, loving yourself, and I think one of my biggest battles in life has been loving myself, and ever since I was a kid, I just remember uh, just being, I used to be very in love with life when I first moved to Canada. I used to be very in love with just the act of living and, finding joy and just finding love everywhere. And I found when I moved to Canada and I started going to school, and all the kids started getting like bigger than me, and it felt like I was just getting smaller and smaller. It it really fucked with my joy and love for myself, and I started like having a lot of negative thoughts towards myself and towards my growth. And I think my addiction, one of the biggest fuelers for it is my self hate and my self deprecation, and just not being aware of how dope I am. You know, I lost sense of that, and I feel like that's why I drank the way I drank. So when I was forced uh, to go to rehab, I've been to rehab and to treatment centers for like the past 6 to 7 years of my adult life. But the last time I was in rehab, I felt, I think it was honestly my third time being in an institution again. And I was just so mad and angry with myself for being back in those places, especially because like I really tried staying sober, whether it was going to meetings, having a sponsor, just staying away from alcohol and drugs, just, you know, trying to live a sober life. I was really trying. And when I slipped and I fell, it was brutal because I just felt like I was useless. And all those like feelings of feeling small and weak from when I was a kid, they all flooded back. And I remember the first day I was back in rehab, I went to a place called Renaissance in Brooklyn, Ontario. I shared a room with three guys, and it was fucked up because like those guys would snore and they would fart, and I had just come from an amazing, pretty dope year in comedy. I got the Hubcap Comedy Festival, Halifax Comedy Festival, and I had to quit or drop out of the Halifax Fest because I just had to get help. You know, my family, my friends all told me, you have to do this. And the detox center I went to, they were like, yo, you've been here before, we remember you. You can't just leave and think that you can do this yourself. Like you have to honestly sit back and figure out a plan. And at that time, I was working in a kitchen. I was living with my roommates who were like really close friends from Calgary, where I'm from. And when I went to the detox, I had to pay rent. I had to go to Halifax, like I was saying, for the comedy festival. So when I was sitting there, my plan was to only be in detox and clean up, so I could go back to work, make money to pay rent, make money to buy a plane ticket to Halifax, and get that $3,000 that Halifax paid, and then just like, you know, build my life back together because I had relapsed, right? But then when I was like telling my plan to these people at the detox center, they just saw through my bullshit. They knew I was gonna blow my money right away. They knew that I would probably go to Halifax and just get drunk all over again, and then just dig a bigger hole. So I literally had to sit there at the detox and ask myself, yo, what am I gonna do? You know, like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna put my career before me or myself? before all of this, and that's what I had to do. I couldn't pay rent, so I had to like leave my living situation. I left the Halifax Comedy Festival. I quit my job. I left everything. You know, I even left my phone because I couldn't pay the bill. I was like off the grid. I knew my friends were gonna be mad at me, but they weren't mad. I just put that in my head. Like they were willing to pay my end of the rent just so I could go get help. You know, like that's how much my boys loved me. And I went to the detox. I stayed there until I could find a rehab. And when I finally got into rehab, got accepted in, I remember the night that I was, like I was saying, I was sleeping. It was the first night. Those guys were snoring, they were farting, and I couldn't stop crying. Like I cried fucking for like an hour. And then I was crying like so hard, but I was silent, but like inside, like everything was just flooding out. And I came to, I like sort of blacked out, but I came to and I was like hugging myself. You know what I mean? And it felt like something else was hugging me. And then I realized, oh fuck, like I'm hugging myself, which meant that like the only way I'm gonna get through this, the only way I can find any sort of happiness is within me. It's not through a rehab, a detox, a comedy festival, a girl, money, music, art, God, spirituality, yoga. It's none of that. Like those things are vehicles. Those things are what come with loving yourself. And that's when I realized, I'm like, holy fuck, man, I'm sick. I'm fucking dope. I'm me. And no one will ever be me. You know what I mean? Like there will never be another person on this earth who is me. And I was so pumped and sad at the same time because it took me forever to figure that out. And I was just sitting there not sitting there, lying there, hugging myself. Brooklyn, Ontario, in a rehab with like old white dudes beside me snoring, farting. And like that was honestly one of the most beautiful, loveliest moments of my life. And I know this video, like there was a part of me that wanted to be funny, that wanted to be like whatever, but like it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like that, there was no funny in there. It was just realness. It was just sick. Just being able to like sit there and hug myself. And I gave up my apartment, my fucking career. Even my family was mad at me. You know, my roommates, I thought, hated me because I bailed on them and like, you know, they had to pay my part of the rent. I remember I tried to pay them back too. I tried to pay them back and my boy messaged me and he was like, bro, the only thing I give a fuck about is that you're okay. And he declined the email transfer. And I was like, wow, that's amazing, you know? Not that I saved $250 or whatever it was, but just the fact that my boy couldn't even put a price on that. You know what I mean? And yeah. So anyways, my goal with these videos is to show people that there is a way out of addiction because it's tough. It's so tough. I relapsed this year again. Do you know what I mean? But the difference is that I didn't have to go through all that shit again. Like I got up and I did it because I remembered. I listened and I learned something. So yeah. I don't know if that makes any sense, but we'll go through it. We'll like figure it all out. Yeah. That was too real, man.
Thanks for watching Phat Artist. Make sure you like and subscribe to our videos.
And don't forget to hit the notifications button.
And don't forget to stay fat.